I am absolutely tired of lazy people who think shock volume outrage passes for a personality. At some point, this constant nonsense stopped being emphasis and became mindless background noise. And no, I didn't actually say any of those words, but I could have. And that's kind of the point. So let me say this right up front. This video is an invitation to you. Join me in what I'm calling the Foul Mouth 100-Day Challenge. No cursing, no foul language, and yes, this includes words we've all gotten a little too comfortable with using. Not because we're fragile, not because we're Puritans, not because we're better than anyone, but because language shapes thought and thought shapes culture. Now let me back up. I grew up in a home where swearing was very rare. My parents almost never did it. And when they did, it was the D word or the H word, and that was it. Words mattered, not because we were delicate, but because they believed words carried weight. As women, we used to understand that collectively. We used to be the standard bearers of civility. Not in a stuffy way, but in a grounded, steady, intelligent way. Somewhere along the line, equality got confused with say whatever the loudest and most vulgar people say. Honestly, a lot of midlife women joined right in, not because we had to, but because we didn't want to stand out or seem uncool or weird or be the odd one out, I guess. I'm not talking about the younger kids today. This isn't a generational rant. I am talking about grown women who should know better and could do better, but stop trying to be an example. And I'm including myself in that. I only used mild semi-expletives to start. Then I had kids, and when I heard one of my children say, "damn it," I was appalled and embarrassed. And when they said, "oh my gosh," it sounded so much like taking the Lord's name in vain that I was taken aback. I charged my then 3 kids to call me out every single time I said one of those things. And I promised to pay them a quarter every time they did. And I did pay. But it was kind of annoying. But it worked. And as I got older, I picked up some bad habits. The D word, the H word, sometimes even the S word and the B word. Ugh, I'm sorry. Not as punctuation in every sentence, but if I was hurt, injured, startled, or angry. In August of 2023, I decided I wanted to break that habit. That's when my own version of this challenge started. Since then, about 2.5 years, I've probably cursed only a couple of dozen times. So change is possible, even if slower than I would like. The last time I slipped was only a couple of weeks ago at a politically charged meeting. A man who proudly described himself as an anarchist, asked my political philosophy. I said, and I quote, "I'm very conservative with some libertarian leanings." He said, "that means you're a socialist." I said, "I'm not a socialist." He said, "You're a socialist because you support public school." That's when the H word flew out of my mouth because he had no idea who the H he was talking to. I homeschooled my 6 kids all the way through high school for over 27 years, and I wrote a book about it. I've got a whole playlist about that. And in that moment, frustration overrode my discipline. I immediately regretted it, and I recognized it. First, because I broke a commitment to myself, and second, because it undermined my credibility. I didn't look smarter or more intelligent or more cogent because I did that. So that's why I'm doing this challenge, not because I never mess up, but because I want to think better and speak better, not out of emotion, but out of intellect. Cursing is often defended as just emphasis or just how people talk now. And yes, there's an evolution of language, but let's be honest, a lot of the time it's a shortcut. It replaces precision, it replaces creativity, it replaces actual, real intellectual thought and critical thinking. Hollywood shows this all the time. The F word used to automatically trigger an R rating. You know that if you're my age. Now it's everywhere, especially in streaming. There's so much of it that some dialogue is nearly unintelligible. Literally F-bomb, F-bomb, F-bomb. That's not edgy. That's just lazy writing. And I also want to be clear about something else. I don't use the name of God casually. I believe taking the Lord's name in vain includes that kind of careless use, among other things. And I don't want to do that because that matters to me. And I wish I didn't have to hear it so much. One more example. When my husband was a young man, he worked on an oil rig for a summer. The language there was beyond anything he'd ever heard, and he grew up in Wyoming. But here's what's interesting, besides the fact that my husband did not join in the language. Those men still knew how to modify their behavior around women. They understood context, they understood restraint. Even in that really rough environment, there was still an understanding that language changes depending on the company you keep. And they used to take better care of women till we joined in. So here's the invitation again. Join me in the Foul Mouth 100-Day Challenge. Maybe the anti-Foul Mouth 100-Day Challenge. Not to be perfect, not to be preachy, but just to be intentional. No cursing, better words, more precision, more thought. Midlife women don't need to chase the approval of the loudest voices. We don't need to join the cool kids or the cool adults. We can be examples of eloquence, of intelligence, of stability, of decency. I'm still working on it, but I think it's worth the effort. So if you want to join me, let me know in the comments. I will welcome you with open arms and a more measured mouth. Please subscribe and join me in trying to create a world with more civilized and rational discussion. It's better for everyone, especially our children and grandchildren. So how are you supposed to dress on theme for a vlog about cursing? Like, I don't know. Do I sunglasses? Do I put on sunglasses? Okay, I don't even have sunglasses. These are pinhole glasses. I don't even have any. I'm gonna be doing a review of these soon, so watch for that. Do I put on a baseball cap? The only baseball caps I have are my marathon baseball cap that I bought when I ran a marathon and my 4th of July baseball cap. Does this make me look like a thug? If I put it on backwards, do I look like a thug? Do I look like I have bad language? What if I just come in hot, like a hot mess? Curse, 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 curse. I don't know. You tell me.